everyone. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. Life just happened and I've just been really not necessarily busy but tired. Both of my kids started school. My 6-year-old son is in kindergarten and my 4.5-year-old daughter is in pre-K. And they go to a private school, and I'm actually working full-time at the school they go to. So it's been a big adjustment for all of us in regards to just our dynamic and schedule has changed. I was a stay-at-home mom since my son was born, and now working again, especially full-time after such a long hiatus. And it's been an adjustment for all of us, for them as well as me, probably me more so than them. They're doing really well. And on top of that, I am also 26 weeks pregnant. So that probably accounts for a lot of just how tired I am all the time. And it's not that I don't want to make videos, it's just that I don't have the energy really to just make them. I did have tried to keep up some of my crafting. Of course, I'm not doing nearly as much as I used to because, again, I'm just tired, and by the end of the day, I just kind of just doze in the afternoons until it's bedtime. But anyway, I did want to jump on here really quick and just talk about what this pregnancy has been like emotionally, since this is a pregnancy that has happened after a loss. If you've been following my channel, you know that I struggle with infertility. With my son, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS for short, and we tried for a year with no success and went to the doctor, and they tried all different kinds of fertility medication. Some of it worked for me to ovulate, help me ovulate. Some of it didn't, but I didn't get pregnant while I was on any of the fertility drugs. And so due to just the stress physically and mentally of being on so many hormones, as well as the financial stress of having weekly ultrasounds, multiple doctor's appointments a week, my husband and I decided to take a break. And during that break is when I conceived Matson, who is my 6-year-old. And then after he was born, we never prevented, and he was a year and a half. And again, we never prevented. I was never on any kind of birth control or anything. I did breastfeed until he was 12 months old, but that was the only form of prevention, if you want to call it that we did. And he was a year and a half, so he was 18 months old when I got pregnant with my daughter. So pregnancy has never came quickly or easily for me, and she is now 4.5. Last year, in February of last year, I was having some issues with the birth control I was on, and so I got off of it for a week or two, and during that time I did get pregnant, and it was a surprise pregnancy, especially because I had always struggled with my weight, and that had always been something that seemed to really affect my ability to ovulate and conceive. And with both my son and my daughter, I conceived both of them after I lost around 20 to 25 pounds. But last year, I got off my birth control for just a couple of weeks to try to find something different because what I was on was just making me crazy. I also probably had weighed more than I ever have, but I still got pregnant within just that first week or two. And it was a surprise. It was a shock, because pregnancy had never come easily or quickly for me, and especially since we weren't really trying. I was just trying to find a different form of prevention that didn't affect my hormones so negatively. And we ended up losing that baby. At my numbers rose like they were supposed to. At my first ultrasound, I was diagnosed with a blighted ovum. So I had gotten pregnant. However, the baby stopped developing like extremely early. However, my body did not recognize the fact that the baby had stopped developing. So it continued to grow the sac and grow the placenta and everything that a baby would need, only there was no baby by that time because it had just stopped developing so early. My doctor told me that if my body had recognized what had happened, I would have miscarried and had never even known I was pregnant. I would have just assumed it was a regular cycle because it was so early and so soon. And then I had to have a D&C after that, and my body just went crazy. I've always struggled with irregular cycles. I've always struggled with all the symptoms and side effects of having PCOS, and it just got worse from there. I started gaining even more weight. I couldn't lose it. Right before the miscarriage happened, my OB, who I had been with for nearly a decade, left that particular practice and she went somewhere else. So naturally, I just got referred to another doctor that was in that practice. And this particular doctor, my old OB had me on metformin for years, ever since I got diagnosed with PCOS. She had always listened to me. She always made me feel like I was heard and that she recognized the fact that I knew my body better than anyone. And this other doctor, I just did not feel as heard. I requested to be put back on metformin. She would not. She refused. I went like 5 or 6 months without a cycle. And then in response to that, they put me on progesterone, which is horrible. It has so many bad side effects and I react so badly to it. So she gave me a dose of that to start a cycle, and then she just gave me a prescription, and then every 30 to 60 days I was to get it refilled and just take it to force the cycle. And I was just so frustrated because I was like, that's not dealing with my problem. That's not getting the root of my issues. I know I'm capable of having cycles on my own. I need a little bit of help to get my hormones under control. On top of that, I was very depressed over the miscarriage. I entered a really dark time, and all this stuff that was happening in my body probably wasn't helping the situation any. And she actually suggested that I get on some kind of antidepressant, which I refused because I just felt like, absolutely nothing against anyone who is on any kind of antidepressant or anything. But at the time, I just felt like my loss was something I needed to deal with. And I didn't want to take more medicine to affect the chemical balance in my body, because I was already on this other stuff that was making me feel horrible. And so finally, my husband, he kept suggesting it, but it finally reached the point where I was just so frustrated because I felt like she was not listening to me. I was telling her, this is what has worked in the past, and she just, she was the doctor. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree. I didn't go to medical school, and I felt like I was basically treated like I didn't know what I was talking about. So it finally reached the point where I listened to my husband and looked up my old OB and the clinic she was in. And I called them and I made an appointment with her. And of course, my first appointment with her, I told her everything that was going on. I told her, about the miscarriage, the surgery, how they wouldn't put me on the medicine she had me on for all those years. And instead, they had me on progesterone to just once a month to force a cycle. And even she was just like, that stuff just makes you feel awful. Like, I know I don't want to have to take this every month. And so, of course, the first thing she did was she called me in a prescription for the medicine that she had me on. And then she called my old clinic to get my records. And she was very frustrated as well, because when they sent my records over, the only thing they sent her was things that she had done 9-10 years ago. And she was just like, well, where's her records about her miscarriage, her, surgery? After the surgery, I had issues with bleeding where I wouldn't stop bleeding, and they had to call me in a prescription for that. They had even talked about having me have to go to the ER to get blood because I was losing so much, which thankfully I didn't end up having to go. But it was just a really bad time. And so, anyway, she put me back on the medicine that I'd been on when I was under her care before. And when she did that, that really motivated me to start, because I had gained a lot of weight. Not just like I was heavy when I got pregnant in February of last year. I gained weight while I was pregnant, and then after my D&C in April, I continued to gain, and I weighed more than I ever had. And of course, she gave me that whole speech about how weight affects PCOS, affects your cycles, all that. So anyway, she put me back on the medicine, and she really helped motivate me, and that helped motivate me to just eat better and try to be more active. And I ended up losing, between January and June, so in 6 months, I lost 49 pounds. And of course, in losing that weight and being back on the metformin like she had me on before, my cycles came back. And I dealt with my emotions of the miscarriage, and I don't know if you ever completely get over something like that, but I wasn't crying about it multiple times a day. I wasn't crying about it every day. It wasn't the main thing on my mind. Yeah, it still crosses my mind every single day. I think about what happened, but I'm not obsessing over it. Like, it's the only thing I think about all the time, and every little thing triggers me. I dealt with that. I took the job at this school my kids would be going to this year, and you know, I was in a really good place mentally and physically in my life. And my husband and I had been talking about some form of permanent birth control. I did not want to get back on the pill. I did not want to have any kind of chemical birth control. So we were even discussing either me getting my tubes tied or him getting a vasectomy. And we had the discussion, and that, you know, we needed to call our insurance and see what our insurance would cover and all that, and decide what we were going to do. And I don't know, maybe a week or two after we had that discussion, we went on vacation. We took our kids to Florida to Legoland and had a really great time. Well, but my husband kept teasing me because I kept falling asleep. Like, on the trip, I kept falling asleep. Like, he would be driving and talking to me, and I would just doze off with him talking to me. And he kept teasing me that maybe I was pregnant, and because that was always one of my symptoms, and being pregnant was just really tired, unable to keep my eyes open. And I just kind of brushed him off. But when we got home, I was sitting in a chair and I dozed off. Like, I just could, 3 or 4 times. Like, I would wake up and we would be talking and I would go to sleep, like, mid-sentence. And he was just like, I'm telling you, you need to take a test. And I said, it's like, whatever. I was like, I'm just tired because we just got back from vacation. This super long road trip. All of us were exhausted. And finally I was like, okay. I was like, well, go to the Dollar Tree and get a couple of tests and I'll take one. Because, I mean, I trust a negative on a Dollar Tree test same as I do a negative on a first response or an EPT. So it was late at night. It was almost time for him to close. It was like 8:30 or something like that. So he got up and he went, and he got back, and I put my son, I put him in the bathtub downstairs. Well, then I went upstairs and I did the little sample in the test strip, and then of course it said to wait like 3 minutes or something. So then I went back downstairs. I set a timer on my phone, but I went back downstairs and I washed my son's hair. And then by the time I got done doing that, the 3 minutes were up. So I went back upstairs. I walked into the bathroom, and from the door of the bathroom to the counter, I could see that there was 2 lines, like 2 very, very pink lines. Like, usually with those super cheap tests, like, you squint, you hold them up to the light, and, you know, you're shining a flashlight on them, and you're like, do I see something? Is it an indent? I don't trust it. I mean, it was pulling dye from the control line. And I was like, okay. Life just got a lot more complicated. But anyway, it took me a little bit of time to go to the doctor. I just kind of ignored it for a couple of weeks. Like, I told my husband and I told my friend Lori, and like, that was it. I just ignored it for a couple of weeks. And then, you know, I finally made my doctor's appointment. I went in. I was like 9 weeks and something. And then they did some tests because she did want to test my, not my beta numbers. Is it my estrogen levels? I don't know. My mind went blank. Pregnancy brain is real, y'all. I can't remember anything. Anyway, some number they wanted to test since I had a miscarriage before. And they said they like for that number to at least be 15. Well, mine came back at 7, and that freaked me out. And but anyway, she went ahead and she put me on medicine for that. And I had to take that until I was past my first trimester. But then, we've had a couple of ultrasounds. Everything looks good. I'm feeling the baby moving. I go Monday to have the glucose testing done to test for gestational diabetes. But this pregnancy has been so different from my others. Not just physically. I've noticed some difference physically. Of course, I am older. Emotionally, like, there's a lot of guilt because with my son and my daughter, I was so happy and so excited. And with this pregnancy, there's happiness and there's excitement, but it seems to always be overshadowed by worry. I just don't get that giddy excitedness, happiness that I got with my son and daughter. And even what I do feel has come later. The first trimester, I was mainly numb. It was just easier for me to ignore it as best I could. I didn't really want to talk about it. We still haven't formally announced it. I was 14, 15 weeks before I told my family or his family, and then we still have not announced it on social media. We've not made a cute Facebook or Instagram announcement. So if you are friends with me on my social media, please don't say anything. I honestly don't know if we're even going to announce that we're pregnant or if we're just going to wait until the baby's here and be like, surprise! It's just, I just really been struggling with the mom guilt big time. I've not bought a lot of things. We're choosing not to find out the gender. We are wanting to be surprised. And so even when we had our anatomy scan, we asked not to be told what the gender was, and even closed our eyes when she got to the part where she was checking the bladder and stuff so we wouldn't see. So I don't know if that's part of it, is not knowing if we're having a boy or a girl. My gut says girl, but that's just a gut feeling. I don't know. So I don't know if that's maybe affected me, or if it's the fact that I'm working, or the loss. There's just this fear that something could happen, and trying to deal with that, still trying to be happy and still trying to be excited and still trying to bond with this baby despite the fear of past experiences. But as far as working after the baby's born, the plan is that I'm going to try to work through January. My due date is February 26th, which is my husband's birthday. So I really hope it comes on its due date, because I would really love for them to share a birthday. But if it doesn't, that's okay. But my plan is to work through January. So I have told my boss that as of right now, January 30th will be my last day. And I probably won't go back, because we're in a very blessed situation where I don't have to work. My husband has a good job. He supported me being a stay-at-home mom for all these years. And he's always told me that if I wanted to work, he would support me. And if I didn't, he would support that too. He was perfectly okay either way. And so as of right now, the plan is, you know, January 30th will be my last day to work, because I do want a couple weeks to just kind of nest and prepare for the baby's arrival. Excuse me. And the children will finish out the school year at that school. But then we're talking about next year, me attempting to homeschool. It's something that's kind of been in my mind for a while. I was just kind of, I guess, chicken to try it. But it's something that I would at least like to try. And I've been doing a lot of research, and, you know, we have the space for it. We can afford to do it. I know it'll be difficult with a newborn, but, and it's like my husband Matt has said, he said, you know, we can try it, and if it doesn't work out, we have options. So, you know, we've got a school 2 streets over from our house that I could walk them to if I needed to, or we could continue to send them to this private school. We have options. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick life update for you guys, let you kind of know what's been going on with us and why I haven't been filming a lot lately, but I am still here. I'm still alive. And life has changed a lot in the past few months, but it's about to change even more, and we're really excited about it. My kids are beyond thrilled to be getting a new baby brother or sister. My son wants a baby brother, my daughter wants a baby sister, so someone's gonna be really happy. My husband is very excited, and I'm getting there. Don't get me wrong, I do love this baby so much already. You know, it's just, I don't know if it's just a subconscious way of trying to deal with what happened last year, in that, there's definitely love, and there's happiness and joy and excitement. It's just, it's a different happiness and excitement than it was with my other pregnancies. But I think part of that is to be expected and completely reasonable, because I know I've talked to other moms who've been pregnant after a loss, and they've all told me it's completely normal to have reservations, and it's like you don't allow yourself to feel those emotions, because, you know, and I don't know why, because it's not like if something does happen, it's going to hurt any less if I'm happy or excited, or if I'm, you know, reserved about it. It's still going to be devastating. But I guess it's just a subconscious thing. I don't really know. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I'm going to get off here, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.